goodness.
And we are back. It's still your favorite mid-morning show, Silverbird today, of course, with your media girl next door and ambassador for good music.
Are you
and
really
enjoyment.
sticking with? Wait, are you really sticking with media girl next door?
Yeah, that's been my hashtag.
Baba, I no day for that. We need to change that.
No, that's my hashtag.
Which one is media girl next door? Are you living near everybody in the world?
Media girl next door. Really, I'm next to all of you. Trust me. Was to turn
next to me.
All right. So our guest here in the studio, she is a fashion entrepreneur, and she's been in the game for, I could say, over 8 years in the fashion space, both indigenous fashion and taking our fashion internationally. Give it up for Bibire. I call it Bibire. So this is Bibire International. Welcome.
Thank you.
Thank you for coming.
Are you not going
Thank
to
you
include
for having
that?
me.
She used to style you back in 2012.
Oh yes, you know, when I was a budding TV presenter back in 2012.
When you were nobody.
When I was nobody.
Yes.
You know, no, you think I will not say it. When I was a nobody. She was one of the first people that styled me.
When you were eating only one square meal a day?
No, I used to eat 3 times, actually 4. Now I've cut down my meal.
Oh,
and yeah,
sorry.
I think now I've cut down.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Thank you for visiting us. Yeah, because you need to come back to Nigeria.
Yeah.
Thank you for helping our career.
But it's good to have you here. So let's talk fashion now. I mean, you've been in the game. You've seen the transition from the things that have been widely accepted back in the day and what's in now. So could you just briefly fill us in on that before we even go into the acceptance of fashion?
Should I start from the international space or the way it is now in Nigeria? Okay. I know that back in the day, like there weren't so many fashion designers as it is now.
Yeah.
And you know, when we started, and it was 10 years ago, over 10 years ago, not 8. Yeah. So when we started, like it wasn't, you know, this. You didn't have so many fashion designers as there is now. So it was kind of tough. And even back in the day, people would ordinarily not wear Ankara. As a matter of fact, I used to produce Ankara then.
Yes, it wasn't Ankara. It was crepe fabric.
It was crepe fabric. It was sequin. It was so many fabric. It was contemporary designs. But when I traveled to the US 6 years ago, I realized that people needed to connect to their roots. And this, I started from Africans. They needed to connect to their roots. The only way they could, or one of the ways they could, was through African prints, through African designs, you know. You know, sometimes we did contemporary designs, like we used African prints to make, you know, something like what you're wearing, you know. But I realized, once I realized that people needed to connect to their roots, because, you know, most of them had not even been to Africa before.
Yeah.
Some of them were, you know,
born there, but
born there. Yeah. Some of them are Nigerians. You had Sierra Leoneans, you had Ghanaians, and over there, just because it's not our own home country, everybody was one. We were just Africans. There wasn't like, oh, I'm Nigerian, you're Ghanaian, you're this, you're that. No, it was like, okay, you're a Nigerian designer. I don't even care if to me, you're an African designer.
Yeah.
So with that, people would come to me and say, hey, you know what? Do you have African print dresses? Do you have this? Do you have that? And, you know, I realized that, oh, there's really a market for this. There's an acceptance. People are loving Africa. Africa is going global. So I switched from the regular to, you know, to more African prints.
Oh, wow.
From African prints, when we realized that people really loved it, then I infused ashoke, you know, the interwoven fabric, because I knew people would accept anything from Africa. They were loving the kente fabric. They were loving anything Africa. Then I thought it was only Africa. But then I realized African Americans needed to connect too. And then I realized the Caribbeans also needed to connect. You know, so because they wanted to connect to their roots, so there was a huge acceptance for African prints, African fashion, anything Africa.
So do you think that that's the cause or the reason for the current pool of designers away from Nigeria? Because a lot of them recently have started relocating, and I know of one who has changed her style totally. I mean, she relocated back in 2018, just 2018 here. And she's a fantastic designer. You know her if I mention her name. She used to make suits and all of that. And when she relocated, everything she does is just prints now. So do you think that because of that acceptance is the reason why lots of our indigenous designers are now moving away from there? Because I think the market is more there.
Yeah, I could say that, and it could also be because they just want a different economy, something that is working. I mean, you could ask me, why did you leave? I was doing very well in Nigeria, so why did you leave? So, but once you get there, I mean, it's like something is being shoved at your face. Sell me, buy me, but you're still being adamant, like, no, I'm not going to. So if you get there, you realize this is the market. You need to first let people that don't know you. I went to the US, I didn't know nobody. These days, I'm getting calls like, hi, I'm calling from Connecticut, I'm calling from New York, I'm calling from Houston, you know, different places. So, but I had to let people accept me, I had to let people know me first through African print. Now I can wear something like this and I can sell it because they already know my brand. But,
let me ask you this, right? So, you've spoken highly about the level of acceptance of African fashion. But don't you think it's just a trend and a phase that would pass on? Because I mean, there's a current wave of a particular trend of connecting to your roots. You have a lot of mixed race people trying to retrace their heritage and their lineage back to maybe Gambia, Nigeria, Edo State, and what have you. Do you feel like this is something that would last the test of time? I mean, in the next half a decade, it will still be relevant.
It's going to be here forever. Once Africa got on that map, on the international map, there's no stopping us. It's like saying the way they accept the African musicians now and the music is going to be a phase. No, it's not going to be. It's here forever. Do you understand? Because people have kids growing up, people have kids, they're giving birth to children that also want to come back, come see what's happening. And the way we produce a fabric now, we're not just stopping at only African cotton, we're doing stretchy just so that, it's more versatile, So it's going to be here forever, I can tell you that.
So let's talk about production, the production process, and a little bit of comparison, Nigerian production process and the international space with their production processes. What is lagging and what do you think we can improve on here, being that you've tested both spaces?
Phew, it's the number one thing, electricity. You know the way it is. Electricity here is terrible. We run on gas like 247 in my factory. It's been like that. It's been that way since I left. It's still that way. So that, for one, there is no comparison. You can't compare that. The production, the rate at which we produce is going to be very low, terribly low as compared to, the way I produce in the US, the way I produce here in Nigeria. Then the manpower, people aren't really, I don't know. It's the attitude to work, the entitlement, like, I feel come, I feel no come, the artisans, the way they behave. Whereas over there, you're clocking in. You don't clock in, you don't get paid because it's per hour, But here, you give them salary, so they come, there has to be a manager, there has to be people, you have to be on their neck, The quality assurance, you have to have a quality assurance manager because I think perfection is just not inborn. So, you have to think about all those things. So it's really, an ongoing process. You have to keep at it. You have to do this. But I would say Ankara is forgiving. I can tell you that. The seams, it's forgiving. You couldn't try with a satin or, something plain. Ankara is forgiving. So, with that, you can get away with a few, stitches going the other way,
Sure.